I said this earlier, no, that HIV isn't always easy to talk about. At the same time, hindi siya conversation that we often talk about maybe in school with our friends and all of that. So, why do you think it's so important nowadays to have these kinds of events or these kinds of opportunities to be able to speak out about these topics that are quote-unquote taboo in society?
I think it's so important to start it here or even at schools, in small communities, and this age group because this has a ripple effect. When you go home, you'll share this to somebody you know, to somebody you live with, to a friend or a person you're in a relationship with. And then that person will then pass that knowledge on to someone else. So if you feel like, oh well, I don't really think it's gonna be so impactful kasi tayo lang naman ang nandito. No, this is knowledge that you will absorb, you take in, and when you leave here, you are the messenger, kumbaga. So you will continue the talk on HIV and AIDS. So I really think that it's important that we have events like this consistently and continually.
Thank you.
And thanks, Pia, for being the strong voice of HIV and AIDS. We have to normalize this kind of conversation because the lack of knowledge is actually the root cause of stigma and discrimination. And we want to eliminate stigma because it becomes a barrier for the young people to access HIV services.
That's true, no? And these opportunities, we don't get them every time. Pero sabi nga ni Ms. Pia and ni Doc Louie, we should have these more often so that people don't get scared of talking about it and don't shy away from the topic. Now, I know we talked about HIV, but there are also many pressing issues of the youth today, no? Pressures and stress as well in everyday situations, in everyday lives. So as an advocate of health and well-being, please share to us how you maintain your mental health despite all the stress and pressures that you face every day.
Okay, so mental health, this is another topic that unfortunately medyo taboo pa rin sa Pilipinas. Nakakahiyang umamin to someone close with, to your parents, even at home, nakakahiyang umamin that you're not okay. And sometimes you don't even, in denial ka rin, that hindi ka rin aminado na hindi ka okay. But what I want everybody to know is that even for somebody who looks like they got all of it figured out, everybody's going through something. It's so important that you take care of yourself because no one will do that for you. There are people who are going to be out there to give a listening ear, a helping hand when you need it. But then you have to ask for it. The thing is, I always say this, wag niyong kimkimin, wag niyong itago, wag niyong solohin. Magsabi kayo, reach out to someone if you can. And if you feel naman na, if you have a feeling na meron kang kakilala or kaibigan na parang hindi okay, may pinagdadaanan, a simple kumusta can do wonders. Like, that will make a person open up and you could even be saving their lives. Like, you can't tell anymore. Like, people, they show up, they put a smile on their face, they get their whole day done, but you don't know what they're carrying inside. So, taking care of your mental health is also very important and also really connected to HIV and AIDS because somebody who is living with HIV also has now to deal with the mental health aspect of it. So, if you feel like mental health, baka sa mga it happens to everybody. Walang pinipiling age group yan. Financial status in life, or sexual orientation or gender, walang pinipili. Babae, lalaki, anyone in between, matanda, bata, lahat may pinagdadaanan. So, taking care of your mental health, there's so many ways. I feel like it's such a personal thing too kasi baka naman, we all have a way of coping, right? But it's important that you find healthy ways of coping and you reach out to someone, but also know when to ask a person, uy, okay ka lang ba? That's also really powerful.
That's true, no? And it's I agree with you when you say na parang isang kamusta lang could make somebody else's day. You could be so down, but somebody says, how are you? How are you doing? How do you feel? It turns your life 180 suddenly, no? Doc Louie, I wanna jump on what Ms. Pia said earlier. Now, it's interconnected, HIV and AIDS and also mental health. Now, what is your advice to the youth who are dealing with problems related to HIV and AIDS that are also affecting their mental health? How do they deal with that? Because these are two impactful problems, no, or issues that they're facing as very young individuals. So how do you suggest that they go about this?
In the country, we have this case management program. We have case managers who are equipped to provide psychosocial counseling, for example. So they can help you. It's a peer-to-peer approach so that, relatable yung taong merong pinagdadaanan to that person, because most of them are, experience the same situation, but they have passed that and they're successfully now living their own life healthy, similar to a negative individual.
That's nice. Talagang dapat malaman natin no, na when you have HIV or AIDS, it's not the end of the road. It's never the end of the road. There are so many ways no, for you to live normally, quote-unquote normally, even with HIV and AIDS. No? Thank you very much for that. Siguro last na lang for the both of you. You've traveled the world for sure. No? What are some practices that you've noticed in other countries that you think we could bring here to the Philippines to elevate, us having to deal with mental health and HIV and AIDS?
There's so many. I really feel like in the Philippines, there's still so much work that needs to be done. First of all, just sa behavior ng mga tao, like, meron pa rin kasi talagang stigma dito. And I understand it's because we're predominantly Catholic, so conservative, hindi na pag-uusapan. Minsan may mga schools na hindi talaga open, minsan sa bahay naman. But I feel like I really want the Philippines to start embracing having these healthy, open dialogues about what's really happening. Let's not turn a blind eye and pretend that teenagers aren't having sex. That, that there's lack of information, that we tease each other. If one of us wants to go get an HIV test, guilty na agad. Alam mo yung, there's so much that needs to be erased when it comes to the stigma, the behaviors. Also, I would love to see more mental health programs in the workplace. Kasi I know we're starting to talk about it in events like this, and even at schools, and even in social media. Since the pandemic, mental health has become something that is more openly talked about. But in the workplace, we also have a toxic work culture where, kasi I need to provide No, I can't complain, baka matanggal ako sa trabaho, I can't do this and that. So, it affects your mental health, and we really romanticize this idea na magsikap ka, maghirap ka, yung parang work yourself to the ground and don't complain. But that has an effect on your mental health. And I really think a lot of Filipinos sadly have mastered bottling up their feelings. Yung magtitiis na lang, pero ang dami ng pinagdadaanan. So, I wish that more companies, mga businesses, employers will take care of their employees and provide them with some mental health activity or counseling, so then they can be happy, they can show up at work and actually be excited. And and yes, sa akin yun yung isa sa mga napansin ko na, if I'm not mistaken, there are only about less than 1,000 registered psychiatrists in the Philippines. And our population is at what? Diba? Like, it doesn't make sense. So there's really still so much work to do, but it also starts with us. It starts with you guys. So
I have 3 specific recommendations that hopefully we can, expand in the Philippines. One, Pia mentioned, young people are having sex. That's the truth, as early as 15, 16 years old. So we need to empower them through providing them a comprehensive sexuality education. And I want to take the opportunity, we have school administrators here. I hope that the CSE or comprehensive sexuality education is already being taught in your schools. Second, let's use the innovative approaches that we have. We have the pre-exposure prophylaxis. This is a drug that can be taken by those negative individuals who have higher risk of contracting HIV. And thirdly, we have the self-testing. If you're not comfortable or if you're feeling stigmatized because you're going to facility for testing, you can now do self-testing on your own in your own homes, at the comfort of your homes, and do it privately. You just have to share the result and to the facilities so that you can provide more information and services. Thank you.
Love that. Thank you very much. Now, we open the floor to our audience here, to our friends here joining us. If you have any questions, you can approach one of our representatives here. Ayan. Or they will approach you. Ayan. Very convenient. Sige, please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, Ms. Wurtzbach. I'm Royce Kalingal, okay, from a professional. Education and awareness about HIV is also correlated to one another. And you have said that 85% of the youth have social media and probably access to schools. However, the remaining 50% of the youth doesn't have access to social media. And probably those people came from the remote areas, okay? And those youth also didn't have the access to schools, very far away from their village. So how can the local government or the youth sector or any NGO or even United Nations AIDS or organization will address this this existing issue? Thank you.
And you can answer.
Okay, so I think when you mentioned local government units, they play such a big role, but also non-profit organizations to be able to access people who don't have access to the internet or who don't have access to learning about this in a school, like a school educational setting. That's why napaka-importante nung na mabigyan ng tamang funding, na may tamang budget, tsaka na may mga volunteer talaga. So, I mean, ako as an advocate, I feel like, wow, there's really so much to do. I feel like my job is to just keep the conversation going, to keep pushing for it, and to keep encouraging local government units to really address the problem and stop having like a blind eye on the issue.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that sad reality, no? So, ganyan talaga yung madami pa rin out-of-school youth and yung 15% na yun na hindi nakakatanggap ng ganitong impormasyon. I think this is where the function of our Sangguniang Kabataan can be, depend on. I mean, the SK and yung mga federation natin would have their own funding support from the government, and they can actually develop programs to reach out more population that are not, or young people that are not in school, and provide information on awareness, HIV awareness, and other sexual issues, and also teenage pregnancy.
It's actually true, no? It's funny, but it's true. Kasi sino ba tutulong sa kabataan kundi kabataan din naman, no? Sino bang nakakaintindi sa kabataan kundi kapwa nila? Thank you very much. I know we have a lot of questions from the audience, but I think that will be the last for now. Siguro, last parting words to all of our youth. Doc Louie, we start with you, and then Ms. Pia.
Okay, so I'm sure all of you already know where to go online to access information on testing, but I just want to repeat what Doc Louie mentioned earlier. Testing is free. And if you don't feel comfortable going into a test center, kasi nahihiya ka pa, ako hindi ako nahihiya eh. Magsama kayo ng mga kaibigan nyo. Don't make it awkward. Make it a part of your annual health checkup. And if you are really apprehensive of going to a clinic, there's also such a thing as the self-test na. So you bring that home, you do it privately, and that's also for free. So on my social media, I leave the highlights on my Instagram of the tabs of an organization that I work very closely with here in the Philippines called Love Yourself. they're pretty much all over the Philippines already. Yung mga branches nila nandun, pati yung mga phone number. So pwede nyo i-check doon kung ano yung pinakamalapit sa inyo. Baka naman gusto mo magpa-test. Or maybe you want to be a volunteer. We always need more help. So why not? Also, one more thing is, so sa testing, free yan. Oh, and again, this is not a death sentence once you get HIV, by the way. I also want to repeat again na once you get the right treatment and you do it properly and consistently, you could actually lower your HIV to a point where undetectable and untransmittable na siya. So, it's possible to, yes, you are a person living with HIV, but have a completely normal life. And, like, it's as if you don't have it. Ganon. So, but that's why it's so important na huwag tayong mahiyang magpa-test at huwag tayong mahiyang humingi ng tulong if we find out that we have it. Unfortunately, I've lost a few friends already because of this. And even in the past few years, I've been an advocate of HIV for 8 years now. Meron pa rin akong mga kilala na malapit sa akin na nagkakaroon ng HIV. And I feel like you really have to ask for testing and ask for the right treatment. And that will save you and save your lives.
I'll make it quick. We need more advocates just like Pia. And I think after hearing her lecture today, mas marami pong ma-encourage to follow the footsteps of Pia and share the information to your classmates, to your parents, to your friends that are not here. The only answer for stigma and discrimination is to provide proper education. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that fruitful talk. Palapakan ulit natin, Doc Louie Ocampo and Ms. Pia Wurtzbach. Now, we would also like to award you guys with certificates of appreciation and tokens. We would like to call on our representatives from SM Cares, Our Home, and the Global Peace Foundation. Once again, we would like to encourage our guests to post your takeaways, yung mga learnings nyo from our talk on your X account, and we will be giving away prizes to 5 lucky winners right after this break. We'd like to encourage everyone as well to join